Hey YouTube, welcome back to Titans of History. Today we're going to be talking about communism, everyone's favorite topic. So, we're going to be answering a few different questions about communism, such as, did it ever exist? What was the Soviet Union's ideology? What is Marxism-Leninism? And where does communism lay on the ideological spectrum? So those are just a few of the questions we'll be asking in today's video. I hope you'll stay tuned to the end because there's a lot of interesting content. So the first question we'll be answering is, did communism ever actually exist in its purest form? And the honest answer to that is no, not at all. See, communism in its purest form was meant by its creators to be a utopia where all the humans would be perfect and there would be no need for government and not even a need for like a justice system because people would just behave perfectly. So in that sense, communism is a fantasy and there was really no way it could ever actually exist. So yeah, there's technically never been a truly communist country, just countries that are more so communist than others. So, if communism never existed, then what was the Soviet Union? Were they communist? No, they weren't communist. So they followed an ideology called Marxism-Leninism, which was essentially a realistic version of communism, taking into account the fact that humans can't be perfect and all that stuff. And it was basically a form of socialism. So, what were the nuts and bolts of the political ideology that drove the Soviet Union? Firstly, Marxism-Leninism was a slightly modified version of Marxism. It was modified by Lenin, and the Soviet Union ran with this strategy basically for its entire existence. So, some of the key points were a single political party, a planned economy where the government controls all of the factors of production, all the prices, everything that has to do with the economy. Also, a welfare state existed in the Soviet Union, so they controlled healthcare, taxes, essentially everything, which was a huge job for the government, and probably a reason that it wasn't a very good government system. And finally, communism, or Marxism-Leninism, a key component of it was the fact that there was no religion, or at least there wasn't supposed to be religion, and Lenin advocated for atheism. So an interesting question comes up when we ask where communism lies on the ideological or political spectrum. Because a lot of times people think of it as like, oh, okay, it's Stalin, so he was a dictator, and so it's probably on the more authoritarian side. But communism, as I said towards the beginning of the video, it was actually meant to be no authoritarianism. Everyone could live in peace, and there would really be no strict government. And so, in its purest form, communism would actually be a controlled form of anarchy, which sounds very oxymoronic. But yeah, a system with no government, but the people are living perfectly on their own. So communism in its purest form is actually closer to anarchy than authoritarianism. Finally, I'll answer the question of whether or not communism exists today. And it does exist today in countries such as North Korea and China. In North Korea, it's definitely an authoritarian version, but in China, it's more of a capitalist bent, which is very odd. It's a communist-ruled country, but they allow capitalist policies in their country, and they don't run it on a strictly communist basis, which has actually worked out reasonably well. I'm not sure how much longer it'll work out for them, but they are an example of a somewhat communist country today. So that was my video about communism and all the nuts and bolts of it. I hope you guys liked the video. Comment down below for what kind of video do you like to see next. and like and subscribe for more content.